Alright, so I'm changing my forks because as you can see, they're not in the best condition. And the whole bike is not really in great condition either. This I'm not proud of, but I'm going to be doing one fix at a time. So in one of my previous videos, I did explain that I increased the travel on my fork, but what happened was the bolt at the bottom was not able to reach the pipe. So without the bolt on the bottom, it meant that this part of the suspension would be falling off every time I hit a jump. I did have a sketchy way of keeping the fork together with some cable wire, but I ended up using a bike lock instead. As you can see, the lock is wrapped around the frame, through the fork, and back around. This guarantees that the fork will stay together, but also makes the turning quite weird. But anyways, let's go on a quick ride now, just to see how it goes. I tried a couple different styles of terrain just to get a benchmark for the ride quality. It rode pretty well on flat gravel and dirt, but when it comes to roots, you could almost feel everything. One thing I forgot to mention was that the knob to adjust the softness on the fork broke off. So it's stuck on a permanent tight setting. But since it's so tight, it doesn't absorb any of the tiny bumps, so it does cause you to lose traction around corners. As you can see, the suspension is not really doing much, even as it hits big roots. Here's one more shot of the old forks at work. And it's not really doing the greatest job, but they definitely serve me well. So here's one more jump on the old forks before I officially take them off. Alright, so we're back from the trails, and so it's time to take the bike apart and put on some new suspension. This will be the new front fork that we're putting on my bike. So we'll go ahead and open it up, and here's what it looks like. So I actually found this on Amazon, and it's one of the most inexpensive front forks for the mountain bike. This fork actually has a remote speed lockout, so you can actually control the locking from the handlebars. And it's got this wonderful red air cap showing me where to pump the shock. Everything did come greased up, so that's usually a good sign. Anyways, here's one last look at my bike with its beautiful default front forks. And hopefully this is a good fit. I also forgot it has a 130mm travel length compared to my default 110mm, which I upgraded to 120. But with all that said, let's try to get this thing on and we'll see how the bike rides after. So the bike lock that actually held the suspension together is actually under a lot of strain because obviously it's doing the job it's designed for. But let me see if I can figure out the code. And here it is after a lot of struggling. So first I am unraveling the bike lock from the frame after probably about 1 to 2 years. Still works pretty nicely. So let me show you what would actually happen if I hit a jump or did any sudden drops without the bike lock actually on the suspension. The fork would actually start coming apart. The nut that goes at the bottom is missing because of the extended travel. So I'm finally going to be removing everything from the bike. Beautiful. So after removing that cap, we're going to remove the handlebar stem. And off it comes. Now I'm taking the spacers off. Then removing the rest of the parts so I could take the entire fork off. Oh, I forgot to detach the brake wires, so I'm going to do that really quickly. Finally got the contraption off. I really need to invest in a bike stand. Alright, we're putting the fork on now, so let's hope this goes in. Well, it doesn't look too bad, but since it's starting to rain pretty hard now, I'm going to complete this build another day. Alright, so it's the next day and I actually went to the bike shop to get this crown race removed. But as you can see, they actually just hammered it off. Maybe because the suspension is already garbage, but I thought they would use an actual tool to get it off. But as long as this fits, this should be no problem. Alright, so it slips on and it seems to fit like a glove. So I'm going to continue and build the rest of the fork. So I just got the fork on and it looks pretty good. Everything fits well. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the steer tube. Alright, so I've marked where to cut on the steer tube and went about 3 millimeters under it. Alright, now going back. First I'm going to wrap this around and find the right spot to cut. Okay, hopefully this is level. And we start cutting. Finally got it off. Not the cleanest cut, but I'll sand it down a bit and then we'll go get the fork installed. Alright, now that we have the tube cut and ready, I'm going to put it back on the frame and hopefully everything fits perfectly. Alright, the fork is back on, so now it's time to put the handlebars back on. The fork is now on the bike, and all that's left to do is tighten everything up. Okay, next up we're putting in the steel sunflower, and then we'll go ahead and put on the cap. The cap fits in nice and snug, so now I can go ahead and put in the sunflower. Alright, perfect. We got the sunflower in, the cap on, and we just gotta screw it in. Now we just gotta tighten the handlebar back on, and we're all set. Now I just have to remove the old brake stuff and everything else on the fork, and transfer it onto the new fork. Got it all out. Wonderful. I have it all set up now. Last thing to do is to put the tire back on and we'll be ready to ride tomorrow. Well, that's it for this video. The test and review will be in the next video, so see you there.